Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in the position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Buchanan.
Nuño.
Stay up late watching the game?
I did.
What'd you think?
I was disappointed. I was kind of rooting for UH.
Yep.
I don't know if you're supposed to do that as an Aggie, but I was.
Okay.
And I thought UH, at one point, look, I thought they started taking some ill-advised shots.
Yep.
When they had a 12-point lead, like, this is when you need to stick to what's been working for you.
All game long.
And then I do think, I'm not saying the officials cost UH the game, but
it was called
things that were let go in the first half suddenly became fouls in the second half. And I thought that was odd. I want the officials, if you're going to let them be physical and play in the first half, let them be physical and play the whole game. Just be consistent. Don't change it up. But you know what? UH still had two opportunities to take the lead, and poor guy, Emmanuel Sharp, 2 turnovers. Look, you go up to take the shot, you got to take it.
I was telling my boys at the half, I was like, this isn't good for U of H, because I thought the Cougars dominated the first half, and they were only up 3, right? And then in the second half, they go on whatever it was, that 8-0 run, and like they get up to the 10, 12-point lead. And U of H, up to that point, just looked way better than Florida at every level. They neutralized the paint. They had 2 or 3 guys cutting that off. Their defense extended. They were getting the offensive rebounds. They were getting blocks. They were the better team. And then Florida, as they've done before, just chips away.
So many times during the tournament.
And then you think about U of H and how close that they have come to a championship. 1983, obviously, is the one we're thinking about. Literally a second away from winning a national championship. And yesterday, like the way they closed out the game against Duke, this was a complete role reversal where they had turnovers, they couldn't hit shots. They had multiple opportunities in the last minute 30 to win that game.
They did. Now, neither team shot the ball particularly well. I think they were both under 40%. Okay, they're both good defensive teams. The rebounds were about the same. Neither shot well from the 3-point range. I think they were both around 25%. Florida shot free throws better, and they shot more.
Yeah.
UH wasn't terrible. I think there was something like 14 of 19, or maybe it was 14 of 20. Maybe it's less than that. It was probably more like 4. I thought they shot around 65, 68%, and Florida, I think, was up around 80%.
Yeah.
But all those things go out the window, the stats. You really can't focus on one thing. It was because Florida was, I think, committed the most turnovers too.
Yep.
But it was, really came down to the fact that UH went cold. Where have you heard this before? When it mattered most.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was on themselves because they just started taking some. And here's a pet peeve of mine. Listen, if you're a big guy and you get an offensive rebound, it does not mean you are required to take the shot. Then
you can pass it back out.
You can pass it back out for a better shot. I don't understand why so many big guys, they get the ball and then put up some crappy shot that they have really no chance of making because so much defense is around them. Pass it out and start over.
Yeah. By the way, this is TexAgs Live.
Yeah, it is.
We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
We are.
We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio.
We are.
This is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations.
It is.
Yep.
That's true too. All that's factual.
Today on the show,
Yeah.
it's going to be a good show, bro.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, first off, Olin Buchanan.
Well, of course.
He's good. All right. Charean Williams.
The great Charean Williams. The
Josh Pate.
omnipotent Charean. Josh Pate.
So far, the show's great, right?
Yeah.
Brian Kortan. Great. Okay.
It can't get any better.
Logan Lee.
Well, maybe. Well, no, it didn't. Okay.
Yeah. 10 o'clock. Are you familiar with Bucky Ball?
Yeah, well,
Bucky McMillan.
I'm going to get familiar with it.
Bucky McMillan and Billy Liucci in studio at 10
In
a.m.
studio.
In studio. Aquí mismo.
Okay, now that is great. That is a great show.
I believe it's in studio. It might be on the phone. I just know he's going to be on the show. I believe in studio.
He struck me yesterday as being a very sincere,
approachable,
engaging person.
Yep, 100%. I want to break down some of the things we heard yesterday.
We all know that that's wonderful, but really all that matters is, are you going to win?
Are you going to win? After that, Luke and Matthew give us an update on Aggies and the pros and JB Moss. So loaded show to the gills. Going back to yesterday, I'm hearing Bucky speak, and there's a lot of different things that I really enjoyed. Okay, and we may even hear it in one of these sound bites, right? I think we actually will in a moment. But talking about 5 guys diving for a loose ball, which, by the way, for the last 6 years, that's kind of what we've gotten used to. Like Buzz's teams, same kind of formula, right?
Yeah. As far as
I
mean, playing hard,
playing very hard. Like so that seems to be the standard, right? And it's going to continue. Throw in offensive efficiency,
please,
right?
Please throw in some offensive efficiency.
You know, he's talking yesterday, and he simplified the game so much to me. Like, hit your free throws, hit your shots, hit your threes, right? Like, I mean, he compared it. This bite I don't have to golf, right? If I knew I had to work on these, you know,
that my driving. My
your 7, whatever, the 9. I don't play golf. You
my
can tell.
Pitching wedge, my putter,
right? Whatever.
He said, then I don't have to worry about the 9 iron, the 8 iron, so on and so forth.
And again, we had those the Mean Street Pod guys yesterday, and they talked about those legendary practices that he puts together. So all these things I think match the vision. But on my way here today, OB,
tell me,
listening to Cannell and Dusty and Cannell.
I was listening to them.
I like them sometimes, and I'm not going to get my feelings hurt because I understand where they're coming from.
Okay.
But they're like, you go from hiring Chris Beard, potentially, to Bucky. And Bucky may be good, but I've never heard of Bucky.
Right.
All right.
And you go to Todd Golden 4 years ago.
Exactly my point. And I understand that thinking outside of, even in College Station, I understand, like, I've never heard of this guy. Why should I believe that this guy will be it? Well, my opinion is, if you listen to him talk yesterday, he already seems like he gets this place. The style of basketball, I think, is going to be conducive to being he even said it. It's entertaining. He wants an entertaining style of basketball, right? I loved, I'm in the minority, I loved 90s basketball when the Rockets would throw the ball to Dream and Charles Barkley, and the game would slow down. It was an eyesore for most people. I did love it. People want Phi Slamma Jamma. People want up and down scoring. People want up and down defense. And that's what he's going to bring.
Well, let's hope. I know he's going to aspire to. Look, I say have an open mind. Give him all the support you would anybody. Yep. But the bottom line is, if any fan base should know, promises sometimes aren't kept.
Yep.
It's this one. So, I'm not saying he's not going to be successful, but I think we're all at a point now where we're saying, it sounds great. I hope he is great. I'm going to give an open mind. I'm going to give him the support, and let's see if he keeps the promises that so many other coaches have. I mean, how many times have we seen someone, we're going to win championships. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. And I'm saying, when? When are you? Mark Weaver, you're not a part of this. Other coaches who have done amazing things, yes, they are, but we're talking about, these big 3.
Sure,
man.
But he was very honest about next season.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't have a team right now. Mm-hmm. And he's up against it. I think it was my question where he's talking about how deep we are into the NIL cycle, the transfer portal cycle, and the deals that are already out there and people went in early because they don't know about the House final verdict, which they're still going through, by the way. But let's listen to him yesterday kind of talk about the brand of basketball he's going to bring to Reed Arena.
You got to remember, for me, X's and O's is last. Like, X's and O's is really last. It's personnel first. How hard are we going to play? I mean, you're going to see, when we play, like, you're going to see dogs on the floor. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to see, like, win, lose, or draw, you're going to walk away and say, I'm glad I have this Texas A&M on my shirt. Those dudes laid it down out there. Like, when there's a loose ball, like, there's going to be 5 guys diving on it. And, like, you're not even going to know sometimes, particularly in the short term, depending on this roster, we may not win every game. But you're going to dang sure feel like it. It's going to feel like it. And you're going to see people that are together, and that they're going to attack fearlessly. And that's the first pillars of the program. Great personnel that work and play so hard, play together, and play with a tremendous amount of confidence. And it's X's and O's. That's 5% of it. That's where I think coaches can sometimes get lost.
Look, everything sounds great, and again, I'm excited. I've heard other coaches, say, "Oh yeah, I think Will Wade, man, he's going to win big," and that's great. Of course, when have you ever heard a coach say, "Oh, this guy's going to be a failure?"
No,
right? But I like everything I'm hearing. I liked like you just said, how approachable he seems like he's going to be. I like that he says, I want to get out and meet every one of you.
Call me Bucky. You're my friend.
All those things. Everything he said yesterday was great. But once again, we've gotten, as a fan base, too often too excited for winning the press conference.
Yeah. But right now, that's all I have.
Right. And look, and that said, I'm not even thinking about the NCAA tournament next year. If he has a winning record, if they go 17-16 or whatever, I'm going to consider it a success considering what he's facing.
Yeah.
He says, all right, I don't have a team. We got one scholarship player here, McDermott. And he's probably, there's a good chance 4 guys from Samford will transfer here.
Right.
He himself was asked about, the difference of company, or he makes some acknowledgement. Well, yeah, it's quite a bit of difference between the caliber of play in the Southern Conference SEC. He gets that. So,
but he's got an answer for that, though. Why he thinks it'll translate?
He says, "Yeah, I got it." But he also still said why his style will translate.
Right.
But he said the caliber of athletes are so much different. He actually made that. He didn't say caliber of athletes, but he said
he's got to get the players. He said it.
So, well, I guess what I'm going at, even if he gets 4 players from Samford, how good are you going to be?
Sure.
He's going to. This previous coach built everything. I think the previous coach knew he was going to leave this year before probably before last year ended. He knew he was going to leave after this year. I think, and he built his team to win as much as he could this year. And in doing so, I think he mortgaged A&M's future.
Right.
And, because he had 8 guys that were going to be in their last year. And, I guess he knew that, hey, and if I leave, I'm going to take as many guys as I can. I'm going to leave this program in a really bad spot.
I'm going to leave them worse.
A bad spot.
A lot of coaches like to say, I hope you think that I left it in a better place. No, actually, no.
No, you didn't. So this guy is he's stepping into a tough spot. So he talks about being fearless. Well, that's pretty fearless that he's going to take over a program with no players.
Yep.
And so I don't expect a lot in his first year, but I'm excited to see what he does long term.
Let's listen to him on why. But I ask you, why will this offense work in this SEC?
Every analytical measure has shown that we've been successful playing the way that we have. When I was at Samford, we went in and we beat Ole Miss. And people could say, well, there's other mid-majors that have done it too. But the Southern Conference is not that league, right? The talent gap is significant. We beat Oregon State, right? We lost to Georgia in a 2-possession game, went to overtime at DePaul and Central Florida, and in reality, a call away from beating Kansas. So, I have complete confidence what we do is going to work because I've seen it work.
Okay. Yeah, again, it all is great. He has my complete and total support. I hope he has all Aggies complete and total support. I think guys like Cannell and all those are saying, hey, you went for Beard and now you're going unknown. Okay, that's not the first time that a program has.
I understand I don't know who this guy. I get that.
I get that.
I also know that.
I guarantee you they had no idea 4 years ago who Todd Golden was.
I've either told you in private or I said it on the air. But I'm a believer all right, I'm going to believe in this guy until I don't have to. Right, or until they give me a reason not to. That's how I am with my teams. All right, when Mike D'Antoni was hired as the Rockets head coach, people were upset because there was I think Jeff Van Gundy was one of the names they wanted to bring back. And I remember how Mike D'Antoni is probably the second most successful coach in Rockets history. And he had a great run. It's not always what we think, and he had a great resume. But when he got to the Phoenix Suns, people did not know who he was, even though he came from the Italian leagues. My point is, I'm going to give them the support. I'm going to believe in it until I don't.
Yeah. But just don't expect him to be everything you hope he'll be next year.
Oh,
if he is, that's a bonus.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's impossible for me to tell you they're going to be good or bad today with no roster.
Right.
It's trending it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and I asked him, and I think he misunderstood why I was asking him this, because I'm thinking long term. But I was asking on this days of NIL, how much emphasis do you put on high school recruiting? He starts talking about, I can't recruit high schools yet. Well, I get that.
But I think he did say, but long term, yes, we'll be doing it.
And I hope he does, because if you get some of the top players in Texas, then you can be a top flight team. The problem is we don't get them.
Yeah.
I mean, look, UH, they've had a bunch of guys from Texas. And they dang near won the national championship last night.
Let's go around the room and say hi to the people. If you want to be a part of the conversation, there are multiple ways you can do that. You can call us, you can text us. If you call us, we'll pick it up on the Bubby's Catering hotline. That number, 979-693-1150. We go behind the glass, left to right. We say hi to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What's up?
I was impressed with Coach Bucky as well. I liked his I guess, analogy at the very end where he was talking about people think of Bucky's when they hear his name. Well, he wants people to think of A&M basketball when they see a Bucky's, just the way they play. So
I thought that was a tremendous quote.
A great way to close it out. And just real quick, I guess we'll spend a lot more time on this, I'm sure, with that House case right now. I don't know how much y'all got to pay attention to it, but really interesting. The debate yesterday was surrounding roster limits and what that might look like in a few years. And just maybe a quick hit or two from y'all. Like, what do you think that might look like if that is indeed the way they go? How that will take shape for college athletics. That doesn't affect just football. That affects everything.
Give me a little bit more info than that, because I know football was going to, they were going to go from 110 to 9, whatever the number.
And they were going to try to grandfather in athletes for a few years until they worked in the roster. I don't know if they decided on a specific number or anything, but, I mean, is that going to look, do y'all think it'll look more like the NFL model where there's like 50-something guys on a roster? I mean,
I just think it's so hard with school, like how you would do, like.
I got to admit, I haven't read the story. Here's what I don't get, though. As recent as 6 months ago, they're talking about on football.
Yeah.
Well, doing away with walk-ons for a while and expanding the
roster. The
roster to like 100 or whatever, from 85 to 105, while saying they got to cut costs. I'm like, wait, how does adding scholarships cut costs?
It does.
So, and I don't know what are they talking about? Reducing or adding scholarships in basketball? I don't know.
I believe it's adding scholarships to all the sports, but taking away the walk-ons, right? So instead of having however many walk-ons you're allowed in basketball and football, just reducing that to none. Like, there's no walk-ons. If you're on the team, you have a scholarship. And by the way, instead of 85 scholarships, we're giving you 105.
And you cut costs that way.
Well, you're cutting costs in other areas.
What other areas? Oh, you mean not so
the athletic program?
Personnel,
the athletic program.
So now, though, you got to pay. You're going to pay You got $22 million to pay guys.
And Nick, you probably followed it way more than I did. I was kind of more plugged into the basketball stuff yesterday, but I believe they said that NIL, like, there's going to be one source of revenue for NIL. It's not like you can get these extra deals, right? Like it is whatever it is, it is.
Yeah, let's wait and see how that works out with the Supreme Court.
That's what I understood it to be as well.
Yeah. You just wait for the first time when a university tells the wrong guy that you cannot make that endorsement.
Yeah.
And then they go, actually, the Supreme Court already told me I can.
Yeah. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reed Neal.
How's it going, guys?
Going hunting later?
Maybe. I'm surprised you can see me, actually.
I like it. It's a good look.
Thank you.
What's up, buddy?
So Coach Bucky compared our basketball team to golf earlier, and the women's golf team is actually doing very well right now. Coach Chadwell. He is. Yeah, he's in first place right now with a 15-shot lead. The Aggies are 23 over 592. We have 3 players in the top 10. Cayetana Fernandez Garcia Pojillo is tied for first.
Just call him Kata.
Okay. Kata. So she's tied for first with Texas State, and she shot 2 over 74 in the first round, and then turned it around and went 2 under 70 in her second round. Vanessa Brovios is tied for 3 over 174 after 2 rounds, and Mia Nixon is the third Aggie in the top 10, shooting 10 over 154.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Reed. When we come back, OB,
yeah,
performance of the week. Be thinking of some performances of the week.
Oh, I
you
know
got
one.
softball. You've got baseball. You've got tennis. I think women's tennis keeps on rolling.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm sure the Greek Freak did something great in tennis as well.
All right, OB. 1775. You went on Thursday?
I went last Thursday.
Yep. All right, I want you to kind of give me a rundown of what you ate and what iDoc ate.
Well, what I did was I ordered the sampler.
Got to do that.
So you get some of the succulent brisket. That's so awesome. You get some of that turkey because, I got to watch my big fat gut. You got to, I had some, they put in some pulled pork. They got some pulled pork, which my iDoc Mike ate most of that. Then, of course, there's some of that sausage, the jalapeno cheese sausage. I ate a lot of that to balance out the turkey. That I ate.
Sure.
And then, of course, there's those glorious pork ribs. And yes, I did have some mac and cheese on the side. And it was so good, we ate it all up. 2 guys eating that whole sampler. So, and then let me tell you, it's a lot of food. So, I had to go back and order some brisket and sausage and some queso mac and cheese for the wife because, she would have let me hear about it if I did not.
The worst part about 1775 is that when I think about them, I have to eat it. Like, I don't care if it's 8 a.m., I'll eat it.
Yeah, well, the best part is the food is so amazing that you can't get enough of it. And the worst part is the food is so amazing that you can't get enough of it.
They're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. Check out the website, 1775txbbq.com, or call them up, 979-492-6241.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. He's OB. I'm David. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio, and it's the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Performance of the week, OB. You pick one. I don't care who.
Caden Sorrell's come to mind right away.
I bet you we have a graphic made for Caden Sorrell. Yeah. Look at that. 3 homers over the weekend, 2 on is it 2 on the first game on Saturday?
I thought he had one in the
Friday. He definitely didn't get one because nobody got one.
I thought he had one in the first game and 2 in the second.
That's what it was. Okay, 5 of 11, 3 homers, 4 RBIs, 4 runs.
He hit almost 500. What a day.
And he's just getting back into form.
Yeah. In fact, he's still hurt. They can't play him in the field.
And he's hot. You know who else is hot?
Bear.
The Bear.
The Bear.
Do we have a graphic for the Bear? Bear Harrison has been on fire over the weekend. 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 4 of 10. Smokey Bear?
He's on fire.
He is on fire. There you go. Yeah, Smokey the Bear. Can I throw a picture out at you?
Yeah, do so.
How about Weston Moss?
How about him?
Weston Moss is fantastic. There's a lot of baseball this week. We haven't done that in a bit. 3 innings pitched. He had 4 strikeouts in those innings. Got the save. He was fantastic.
No runs. Yeah, outstanding. I bet you can find somebody in softball.
Yep. So softball, by the way, I just put the softball team on there because they just keep on winning. Was it 8 straight wins for them? They don't get to finish the series against Georgia, but they still get 9 straight. Thank you. But they do have the get the series win because they won the 2 games they had to.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Aggie softball. Let's see. The women's tennis team demolished, dismantled, destroyed anything with a D. They did with Crimson Tide.
Good. I'm glad. I mean, don't they have a? See, I'm really the longer the name it is, the more trouble I have with it. So I'm sure
you want trouble with names?
I'm sure Stoyanovich or whatever her name is had a.
Let's go to Reed Neal. Reed, I don't know if you have it in front of you. If you look at the rundown, the Texas A&M track and field 4x400 relay team. My. Give us some info on what they did.
So we are the world leading time in the 4x4, and specifically. Ahmad Robinson,
yeah.
Okay, so we were behind. We were in 3rd place,
entering the final leg.
Yep. And he ran a 44.59 second lap to bring us to first.
So I believe
strong anchor leg.
Those 4 gentlemen, will be here in studio tomorrow.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I believe the 4 will be here. So
okay,
we're all about guests. Good guest.
Good guest.
Double G's.
Good guest.
Yeah. Anyway, set a break.
Do you know who those 4 guys are?
Yeah.
What are their names?
I got them right here.
Well, what are their names?
Cutler Zamzow. Kamar Farquharson. Yeah. Ahmad Robinson.
Yeah.
And Tony Norde. I don't know how to say the last name. I'm going to ask him tomorrow. I apologize.
Is he the 800 guy too?
Antoine Nord J.
I think it's like no key or something.
Yeah, we're not going to practice on the air. I'm going to ask him off the air. But yes, we're going to have all 4 of them. Coach Henry's probably listening. We love them. We'll get them on tomorrow.
All
right. Let's hit a break because a name that I struggle with as well, Charean
Williams.
Charean? How would we say it in Spanish? Williams. Charean. In Spanish, we'd say, oye, Charean, ¿cómo está?
Sí.
We'll have Charean Williams on the program in a little bit. I don't know if Nick is laughing or just shaking his head like, what is up with these 2 knuckleheads? Because sometimes I like to watch his reaction to our dad jokes.
He'll be a dad eventually. He's been married about a year.
At some
Not
point.
even. So, yeah, he'll be a dad. Give him a couple of years.
Hey, when he is a dad or whoever's a dad, that's a terrible segue, Rollo Insurance. Because you got to think about insurance when you have kids, right?
Boy, don't you?
You better think about it.
Yeah, you
Car
better.
insurance?
Oh, my.
Bro, my kids, the twins, they're going to be 40 by the time they get their license because I don't want to pay for their insurance.
Yeah.
Because, paying for one 16, 17-year-old's insurance is expensive. Doing 2 at the same time?
And then you got a daughter coming up pretty soon?
Yeah, Annalisa's 14.
Oh,
that means
have 3.
In a year, she's doing driver's ed. Like, hijo de la. Like, son of a gun. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
If I were you, I'd call Rollo. And see
Oh,
if
I've
they
already
can't
been
find
calling
you
him.
the best-
Poor Morgan's like, stop
best
calling me,
deal."
bro. I get it. I'll get you the best deal. He does. 888-44-ROLLO. RolloInsurance.com/TexAgs, by the way. 888-44-ROLLO. RolloInsurance.com/TexAgs. That's a live spot, baby. And we're back. Shout out to the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. OB, Nuño, Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Can we go to the hotline, the Buffy's Catering hotline, OB?
We must.
Okay, let's talk to Charean Williams, Pro Football Talk, Aggie great, Aggie Hall of Famer, our good friend. Charean, good morning. Oh, man. Hello, Charean. Oh, man. Charean? I bet you she hears us.
I want to know what.
Here.
There you are.
There she is.
Charean, how are you?
Ah, there you are. I can hear you.
What's going on? How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. So OB and I started the show talking a little Bucky ball, Bucky McMillan, the new hire, and OB is correct. It's not about winning the press conference; it's about winning games. But I feel like what a great way to start. What did you think of everything you heard yesterday?
Yeah, when I saw his name and saw he was a candidate a couple hours before it came out that he was going to be the guy, I started doing a little research and, trying to figure out who this guy was, and was a little impressed by the research. And then the more you hear him talk and the more you hear his former players talk and all of that, I mean, he's impressive, and he's off to a good start. Now, the honeymoon's only going to last the first game. We all know that. And then you got to win, and it's about putting W's up. But, I also like the honesty of, hey, look, we're backs are against the wall right now. We got no players on this roster, and, we can't be that picky. We got to get players, period, in the story. It doesn't, we got to get players out of the portal. So, I like everything I heard from him. I didn't watch the whole press conference, but saw clips. Really like what he said, and I like what he brings, and it's going to be an exciting brand of basketball. It appears. So I'm excited right now by this hire.
Charean, as a lifelong Aggie and someone with some, realistic expectations, and so how you said the honeymoon period. How long are you willing to, how much slack are you willing to cut a new coach in that situation before you start saying, hey, it's time to win?
Well, I think because you're comparing two different sports here, I think. I think it depends on the amount of talent that you inherit or bring in, or however you want to phrase that. What do you have to work with? And I don't know that he's going to have a lot to work with his first year. So, yeah, I do think he has some slack here of, 2 to 3 years to try to figure it out and get his type of players in here. And we all know they're going to get some of his former players are going to transfer in here, probably 4 of them. So, he'll have some of his own players. But, you also need some SEC-ready caliber players, and I don't know how many of those are going to be able to get out of the portal, but I think eventually that he's going to get it done. But, yeah, I would say 2 to 3 years probably. Now, if you inherit a lot of talent, I think the pressure's on to win now, like in baseball. I think the pressure was on Coach Early to win now, and hopefully they have that thing turned around and have figured it out.
Charean, baseball also with a really good weekend. It's been a while since we've had the opportunity to talk about a great weekend for baseball, but they beat the number 1 team. Does it open up a little glimmer of hope for you?
Yeah, we'll see what they do this weekend. I think this is huge. I think you have to sweep to stay in it, but saw what their RPI did and all that, and they played awfully well. I watched the third game, the second game of the doubleheader, but third game of the series. I watched that one, and they played awfully well. So, again, I hope that hitting rock bottom was what it took to find that fight and whatever else. And they could have quit. I mean, after you get no hit and run ruled, number 1 team in the country, the team you play for the national championship, everybody says you suck. You're reading it. You feel like you suck. You could have quit, and they didn't. And kudos to them for fight that they showed and everything else, and coming back and playing the way they did in that doubleheader. And again, maybe that's what it took. Maybe it took hitting rock bottom for them to say, this isn't us. We're better than this, and we're going to show we're better than this. And they did that in 2 games, but it's 2 games. So, you got to go out, you got to sweep this week. It's one game at a time, and then you got to, try to 2 or 3 the rest of the way because you got some big series coming up.
Does your women's intuition tell you that that they have turned it around, or was it a either, quote, good day for the Aggies or a bad day for Tennessee?
I don't know that it really matters, whatever it was. I mean, this is a Tennessee team. What did they lost coming in? 2 games coming in? Hadn't lost many, whatever it was. So they didn't have many bad days. And I find it hard to believe that they had 2 bad games back-to-back, the way they played this year and the way they played last year. I think A&M finally showed that they have enough talent to win. We all know they've had a ton of injuries. There's no doubt about that, a ton of injuries, but they still have a ton of talent, and I think they finally showed that talent that they have, and they did it in a big way. So I don't know that it really matters, but I do find it hard to believe that Tennessee played really poorly in back-to-back games. I think it was more about what A&M did in those 2 games.
Right. So you believe they've shown the signs of that they're actually turning it around and didn't just have a good day.
I firmly believe that they found something. Why it took this long, I don't know. They're going to have to figure that out. But hey, you know what? We talk about all the time, just getting into the playoffs, just getting into the postseason. This is about just getting into the postseason. And if you're playing like they did, nobody's going to want to play you. You're probably going to be whatever you're going to be, a low seed. But no one is going to want to play you in the postseason if you get in, because that means you're playing awfully well at the end of the season after the way the season started. So right now it's just about getting into the postseason. And to do that, they're going to have to pull some more upsets, and they're going to have to play just like they did in those 2 games. And if they can do that, anything's possible. They have enough talent. Going to the College World Series is not out of the question, but they've got to play like that. There's got to be that sense of urgency. And, hey, we've got to show that we're a better team than what we showed earlier in the season. And if they do that, then again, anything is possible. A national championship is possible.
Charean, talk to me about Myles Garrett, because I saw the article you wrote, and I didn't know how to take what the Browns were saying about him. They're challenging him to become a real leader of the team. Has he not shown leadership qualities? Is he more, I lead by example, as opposed to, do they want more vocal? What do they mean when they need to see more leadership from him?
Yeah, well, a report came out that he is habitually late and misses meetings and doesn't do some of the things that he needs to do to be a pro's pro. And so nobody has refuted that. So I'd have to think that that's probably true. And it was one of the beat reporters who reported it. So I think that's where you start, is showing up and being there and being on time and doing the things that you need to do to be a good leader. And, showing up late obviously is not good leadership. So he's got to, look inside of himself and say, all right, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I've got to do a little bit more now. He's been great on the field. We all know that. I think they're looking for him to be better off the field. And, he's not a rah-rah leader. They talked about that. He's not a rah-rah leader. But I think they need a little bit more of that out of him going forward. But the main thing is just showing leadership in your actions and doing the right things. And we know he practices hard and he works out hard and all those things. So this is very easily fixable. And he's just got to do it.
Drafts in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Hey, what has the Cowboys done in the offseason? What moves have they made to get better? Are there any?
Yeah. They did more than they did last year, obviously. I think, a year ago I told you I don't think their roster's as good as the one that ended the season with the upset loss to Green Bay at home in the wild card round after the offseason, after free agency. At this point, I'm telling you, their roster is better than they ended the season with last year. They've upgraded and improved the roster. I really like what they've done at the running back position, getting Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, get 2 veteran running backs. Schottenheimer wanted guys who could catch the ball out of the backfield. They can do that. And now you get a rookie, and you bring that rookie in to be better, hopefully. You draft one early. Doesn't have to be the first round. 30 running backs have first-round grades. There are a lot of running backs in this draft. So get you a running back and a rookie running back to go with those two, and you've really upgraded that position. Still need a number 2 receiver, and I think that may be where they go in the first round. If one of those guys is there, I think they'll draft a receiver, and then you have your number 2 receiver there. But they still need that, and they still have some holes to fix. There's still trades they could make, or still some free agents out there. Frankly, Amari Cooper's still sitting out there somehow. He's not the same guy that we saw in Dallas the first time around, but I think he's still awfully good.
He's still better than anybody else they got, but CD, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Yes, he'd be an upgrade for him there.
Hey, let me close with this. Here's another one about Christian Kirk. So his numbers were down last year. He's joining C.J. Stroud. D'Amico Ryan seems to be very excited about what those two can do together. What does Christian Kirk still have left?
Yeah, I think he can be a really good number 2 receiver, slot receiver. And as D'Amico Ryan said, I was with D'Amico a ton last week at the owners' meetings, stayed on him, and he talked a lot about Christian Kirk being quarterback friendly. And by that, he means gets open and provides a good target for C.J. Stroud. And I think he'll do that. Last year was the first year he had an injury. First year he didn't play double-digit games. He had played at least 12 games in his first 6 years. So his numbers were down, career lows last year. If he stays healthy, I think we'll see the same Christian Kirk that we saw in the first 6 years of his career, that we saw in Arizona, that we saw in his first year in Jacksonville. I think he'll be a very good slot receiver, and I think he'll help the Texans. I love the trade. I think it was a very good trade for the Texans, and I think he'll be very good in that offense.
Charean, I appreciate you. Thanks so much. Have a great week.
Thank you, guys.
Charean Williams on the Puppies Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll do a short one on the other side. Moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. When you're looking for a new vehicle, that's the place to go. You start your search online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. You'll see the selection that they have. When you make the drive out there, I think you're going to be blown away by everything, the entire experience from the vehicles that they have and the customer service. If you're looking for trucks, that's the place to go to. Go-to place for trucks in the Brazos Valley. Midsize, SUVs, you name it. They have it all. And as I've mentioned many, many times, the customer service second to none. They have complimentary pickup and delivery for those service customers. So if you live in College Station and you can't make out the drive, they'll come pick it up for you. They have also free oil changes for life as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. We're talking about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour coming to a close here, presented by the Warehouse of CC Creations, David and OB. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center because we'll have Trisha Ford in the studio tomorrow. Softball wins a lot of games. I don't know if you knew that.
A lot.
Yeah. 9 straight. 9 straight, Reed.
Yep. So earlier y'all mentioned just the softball team as a whole, but specifically I wanted to mention Amari Harper. She leads the SEC in 3 stats right now. In batting average, which is a 600, on base percentage, which is 696, and then in hit by pitches, which she has 5. And then alongside that, Kennedy Powell is also tied for SEC stolen bases, which is at 5.
Okay. All right. They do a lot of things well. What did they move up to, number 3? I believe they moved up to number 3 in the rankings.
Is it? It might be number 4.
I think it's 3.
Or is it 3?
I'm going to go with 3.
Should probably prefer to only lead the league in 2 categories and drop that.
A new poll hasn't come out yet, so they haven't.
And being hit by pitch.
So a new poll hasn't come out, so they are 4?
Still 4, yes. But new one comes out today.
Okay, they'll be 3. I know somewhere I saw that they were 3. I saw it was Texas, Oklahoma, and A&M. Somewhere I saw that.
Okay.
So, I'm not just making stuff up. I might be.
SEC's tough in softball, man.
Yeah, I mean, the new additions, the existing additions. Yeah,
Florida's good.
That's right.
A&M's good. Oklahoma, Texas.
OB, as a reminder, the rest of the program. I mean, the first hour was really good. I mean,
Shireen's great.
OB was all right, right? Mm-hmm. Hour number 2, we've got Josh Pate starting us off. Yeah. We'll talk about the house stuff. We'll talk about Brian Kortan. We won't talk about Brian Kortan with Pate, but we will talk to Brian Kortan in studio. We'll talk to Logan Lee about basketball. I like Logan. We'll have Bucky McMillan in studio at 10 o'clock with Billy Liucci, Aggies and the Pros, JB Moss.
All right.
Loaded rest of the program. Thank you, buddy.
You bet.
When we come back, Josh Pate, TexAgs Live. And we are back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio, currently hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Go check them out if you want to invest in pro sports. Investinprosports.com. They can take care of many, many things. But I think owning your own sports franchise sounds like a great thing to do. Let's do our weekly conversation with Josh Pate, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors that offer a wide selection of the best brands, including Easton, Rawlings, and Wilson. And at Academy, you can shop for the latest bats, gloves, cleats, clothing, protective gear, and training equipment, plus much, much more. Josh, good morning, buddy. How you been?
Well, I'm good. I'm surprised that management even allows you to stand, David, because you want to be relatable. You want to connect to the viewer. And when you're seated, people look and say, I'm kind of like Nuño. I feel like I'm one of him. But when you stand up, if you know what I mean, people realize there's a gap between me and David Nuño. And it's him up here and it's me down here. And I could only aspire physically to be that one day. I just don't want you intimidating people. That's what I'm saying.
Josh, I'm already the most unrelatable human in Bryan College Station with my sleep schedule, my macronutrient following, my weird way about going about life. So they already knew this. This is nothing new. And by the way, you are the guy that people always talk about like, oh, Nuño, you think you're tough? Have you met Josh Pate? Actually, yes, many times I have.
Yeah, it's popcorn stuff, though. You know that. It's surface-based stuff. There's nothing beneath that.
Hey, so I know you're not a huge college basketball guy. I'm sure you kept you watched a little bit of the game last night. A&M hired their new coach. When you think about March Madness and everything that went on, like the ratings are up, everything seems to be pointing up, and there's so much talk about college athletics kind of being in a weird place, but people are still tuned in, man.
Yeah, like you said, I kind of removed myself from the college basketball part of it, so I've always believed March Madness is going to draw regardless. Like, even if I thought college basketball was in a bad place, I would think March Madness would do a good job. It's funny, though, you mentioned that because in that vein, but over in the football lane, I was talking on Kubelik's show yesterday. He was saying, do you worry about, like, the future from an audience consumption standpoint? I said, of course. That's the name of the game. That's primary in anyone's concern about the overall state of college football. But what I said was, and I've said this to you before, I remember talking to you about this a couple of weeks ago, but I'll say it again for anyone who wasn't tuned in. It's kind of like if you're New Orleans and I'm St. Louis, we're both on the Mississippi River. Now, David, if I take a ton of poison and dump it in a river in St. Louis, and then I call you immediately and I ask, David, hey, anything down there? You would say, no, water supply's good, nothing's changed, because 5 minutes have gone by. Now, if 5 weeks go by and I call you, you may give me a different story, because the poison's had time to reach you. I think similarly about decision-making in anything, entertainment-wise, but college sports specifically, you can make the worst decisions imaginable today, and everyone who's watching this is still going to tune into college football this fall. No one's tuned out. However, you give it time. You give it 5, 7, 10 years. I don't know what the audience patterns are. I just know you and I would be described as P1s. We're diehards. We're the last to leave the table. But what about the second, third, fourth, fifth layer? The further removed you get, the less attached they already are. You don't think those fourth and fifth layer people that are currently at the table could be pushed away by the guise of amateurism eroding, or the overall state of the game eroding, or the integrity of the game eroding? Of course they could. So when I look at it, I don't look at it as zero sum, like everyone's watching or everyone's not. Yesterday versus today. I try and think long game, and ideally, I'd love to have the solutions to the problems before the problems are in our lap, because oftentimes, poison being the perfect analogy there, it's too late to fix the water once the water's poisoned.
I'm glad you brought that up, because to me, it reminds me of the NBA. In the 90s, it was the biggest product in the world, right? Everybody was tuned in, and their numbers have consistently gone down. While college basketball March Madness has gone up right now, I still think that the NBA is a model to look at what went wrong with the explosion of basketball, because it is a global sport, yet in the United States, I think the attention has dropped.
I'll tell you from my vantage point, I am a perfect case study here, because I've never been a diehard NBA fan. I was a fan on the periphery. So I am what we're talking about with college football, just with basketball. I've never watched less NBA than I do now. I used to be a very casual viewer of the NBA. I'd watch the finals, I'd watch playoff, Christmas Day, that kind of stuff. To me, I watch it, and I do not feel like there is an over-the-cliff love of the game. the way that I used to feel there's a love of the game. Now, when I watch college basketball, I do still get that sense. I get the sense that guys are playing for more than just themselves. Now, this sounds very infantile. I know that this is very childlike. It's the way a 5-year-old views the world. But honestly, man, that's kind of what's great about sports is there's this little compartment of youth inside of us that we really don't want to discard entirely, but we don't get to bring it out Monday through Friday in the workplace. But that really gets tapped into when you watch sports. When you watch a great movie, that kind of gets tapped into. But if what used to tap into that is no longer present in that product, NBA specifically here, I look at it and I say, I got better things to do with my time. Like these guys right here are going through the motions. I'll tell you, I was talking to Kirby Smart about this a couple of weeks ago. I don't even think we put it on air, but he was talking about fire and passion. And he was talking about NIL. He said, if I could find that, there's no limit to what I'd pay for that. If I found that in a player, I'll pay for that. And I was saying, did you watch that hockey, that all-star break hockey thing where it was USA, Canada? David, I've never on the professional sports scene felt more of what we're talking about just exuding through the screen than that. That is love of a game. That is commitment. That is over the top, everything involved in what we're talking about. And I told him I hadn't felt that watching NBA, even in the finals, in a long, long time. That's what it takes for me to buy into a sports product.
Josh, I want to go back to the P1 comment because typically I am a P1, right? But yesterday I was not a P1. The last couple of days when it comes to college athletics and college football, I was all dialed in on the Bucky McMillan press conference for A&M Hoops. So I didn't get to absorb the house settlement stuff that was going on. Anything that jumped out at you from yesterday that like, you know what? Yeah, that's something to keep an eye on.
Well, I think the first thing is from a federal judge's mouth is you guys are going to institute these roster limit changes this year? And she kind of, she was describing it the way I've looked at it, as if to say, you're going to that hard 105 cap. And for those who aren't really familiar with this, it's kind of in the weeds a little bit, but part of this new settlement, the structure under which they're trying to present it was you're going to have a hard roster limit. It's going to be less than you used to be able to have, and it's really going to shave off a layer of your walk-on depth. And so right now, whether it's Elko, whether it's Matt Rule, or whether it's Sharon Moore, I don't care. You got a lot of guys who have had, players around their program for a few years, probably not starting on Saturday, but they're instrumental in depth and culture and the synergy and the connectivity of your team. And they've got to tell them by week 1 this fall, unless something changes, they got to tell them we don't have a spot for you. And no coach is like that. Every one of them has hated it. And every one of them has dreaded having the conversation. And we were talking about Kirby. I asked him about it. He said, we don't even know for sure, like when we have to have it shaved down. We think it's by week 1. And then Beamer said, we've tried to get ahead of it and let guys at least know their status so they can start trying to look for other places to play. No one's liked it. So then the federal judge says, why don't you do a phase-in system? Why don't you start slowly implementing it? But the guys who are already on campus, you don't have to get rid of. And I looked at it and I said, it takes a federal judge to figure this out. Like, are we serious right now? Now, outside of that, David, I think there are a million other hang-ups and rubber bands tied around getting that thing across the finish line. But that was the thing I noticed that's going to affect this year the most is, maybe my walk-ons don't have to go play for a second or third option after all.
Talking to Josh Pate here on TexAgs Live. So, Josh, one of the things you're doing on your YouTube channel, I really like this what-if game you played. I want to play what-if with you with a couple A&M scenarios because I think it's kind of cool. Actually, it may break some hearts when we bring up these what-ifs. But here's a what-if for you. What if this past season Le'Veon Moss doesn't get hurt? Let me give you some context there.
Yeah, go ahead.
4th and 1 situations. With your, the Texas game comes to mind. It actually happened in the South Carolina game that he got hurt on. Offensively, they were a different team when he left. As good as Amari Daniels was, I think they get a couple of those 4th and 1s. If not all of them, one of them.
The Texas game was the first thing that came to my mind because I remember being there and I remember feeling helpless from the A&M side in short yardage situations, which is kind of crazy because Texas had the running back injuries in fall camp. And one of my primary concerns with them all year is, short yardage in these tough games, how are they going to convert? Well, it ended up biting A&M because of the loss of Moss. So you can't prove a counterfactual. Like, we can't prove they would have won had they had him. But if we want to go down that road for 20 seconds, let's just say for a second that's the case. And that's what it takes to tip that game. Well, then it's them going to Atlanta. And who knows what happens there. Because we remember Georgia's quarterback goes down. There's no way to prove that still happens. Obviously, that's what makes the what-if game fun, because you're never wrong, because you can't prove the counterfactual. But at the very least, what we would be discussing about Mike Elko, the same thing we were discussing a couple of years ago about Brian Kelly, of, wow, look at what he just did in year one. He took this team to Atlanta. They were on the brink, against Georgia still, of winning the SEC championship. But then you also don't know what the playoff picture would have looked like after that. You have no idea how it would have shaken out. So, yeah, that's a fun one. That's a very fun one. It's a very interesting one.
I don't know if the Texas game ends differently, but it feels different, because if you get that first for 4th and 1, take a 7-0 lead, I think the game feels different. You get a touchdown early on, or even late, you make it a game, right? You're within striking distance in the fourth quarter. So that was one thought. Here's another one for you. Not that it would change that much, because they were right there, but what if A&M gets into the playoffs in 2020 over Notre Dame, right? What if? How does that kind of change the way we look at the Jimbo era? Because people kind of dismissed the 9-1 season because it was the COVID year, but I think getting that invite might change a little bit of how we look at it.
Yeah, so the whole COVID year, it's funny, I've partaken in this train of thought too. If you were bad in the COVID year, I'm totally willing to excuse it. If you were great in the COVID year, I totally acknowledge it. Like Bama, I think Bama won the title that year, right? So I think of that team the same way I do a normal team. But what's funny is not all teams were terrible or great. You had A&M there, closer to great than terrible, but just far enough away where they didn't get to cash in on the playoff. And so you're right, people forget about it. I guarantee you, we walk down the street in like Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Folks know Michigan was terrible, Bama was great. What A&M do? I don't know. If they would have made it, now, of course, the first part of that is Jimbo's probably still the head coach there, maybe. So that's its own separate road, but we're going to pretend that one's closed for a second. But the follow-up to that is, would they have been able to make noise in the playoff? Because it's not a 12-teamer, it's a 4-teamer. So you're going to win 2 games to win the whole thing. Even if they would have just won 1 game, if they go to the national championship game, that's wildly different. Because I can't help, as much as I said this road's closed, I can't help but go back to that road. Not only does that change that year, David, but you got to be careful not to assume, okay, if Jimbo made the playoff that year, he would have had longer runway, but everything else after that would have remained the same. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe a coach or two out there that he wanted to hire on his staff that kind of was on the seesaw on the fence and didn't come, maybe he comes. Maybe a couple of more recruits come. So you put a pebble in the stream, and it alters the flow downstream in very, very random ways. Jimbo making the playoff in 2020. Yeah, he keeps his job probably a lot longer, but also maybe he wins more. Like, maybe there's enough that gets added to the program from 5 different directions that pushes them over the finish line in a couple of more games. And that one's fun too. You know, all of these things leave you questioning more after your answer than before you started your answer.
So I'm a big believer in, regardless of injury or whatever, you've got a sample set. That's who you are, right? And I know for a long time, A&M, it was every year. Haynes King goes down. Max Johnson goes down. Zach Calzada has a separated shoulder. It's injury after Connor Wegman gets hurt, right? There's this been reoccurring theme. But I wonder, other programs, and I know the answer. In my head, I think I know the answer to it. If those programs had gone through the same thing A&M went through those years, with Alabama was always on their second and third quarterback, how would we look at the last 5 years? But that didn't happen. It happened to A&M. I'm going to ask you this one because I think it kind of ties into this topic. What if Florida State gets into the playoffs in 23? I know you just talked to Mike Norvell. How different maybe last year looked?
So that one I was doing a little bit of thinking on when I was coming back the other day. Because, all right, so it's weird because we know how 24 turned out. But I remember after 23, when they get left out of the playoff, but before 24, I looked at it and I said, this is just me talking. I can't prove this, but I looked at it and I said, without Jordan Travis, I think there's no way that team would have won a national title. Probably wouldn't have won a first-round game, but they're not winning the national title. So I thought to myself, long-term, it may serve the best interest of that program to have been left out. Because think of what you get to preach to your guys. You get to do the whole us versus the world, leave no doubt in the future, and you don't have to preach it. Guys already saw it. It actually happened to them. And I thought to myself, if what you had to sacrifice was lack of inclusion for a team that was probably terminally flawed by playoff standards, but you get infinite motivation return on that down the road, I thought it was going to serve them well. But then they fell off a cliff last year. So that mentality kind of goes out the window. So what I'm left thinking, David, is I think they would have gotten in the playoff. It would have been a good story. They would have come up well short because they didn't have their quarterback. And the net result is you had an undefeated regular season, an ACC championship, which is the same thing they have now in the history books. You just would have had a playoff berth that would have fallen short. I don't know how differently the next season would have gone, but I don't know. To me, you can't prove this. Again, I don't know that there's a ton of difference in the way things turned out, whether they made it or didn't.
How much room should a coach get, right? So Bucky McMillan's taken over basketball. Like, is it a 3-year window? Is it a 4-year window? You've got Mike Elko taking over here. All these different programs. I feel like they're all different situations, but we all know about that ticking, the clock that's going on. Like, well, you better make the playoffs, or you better hit this threshold. What do you think is fair for a coach to be at a place to where we can say, all right, I know they had these injuries. I know that they had to overcome this obstacle when they got their roster-wise. 3 years, 4 years, is there a number?
Yeah, if you inherit a good situation, it's 2 years. If you inherit a rebuild situation, 3 years minimum. I still believe in that. Elko is, I think like Matt Rule's a good example. Mm-hmm. I mean, Matt Rule, you're looking at what he inherits at Nebraska. It's not a complete and total rebuild, but you got to burn it down pretty close to the ground before you start the rebuild. Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, totally different world. He inherits a B+ to A- level situation. Now, it had its unique challenges that the outside world probably doesn't want to acknowledge, but this year they should win. This year they should compete in the national championship picture. I don't know that I would say the same thing about like Hugh Freeze last year at Auburn was year 2 for him. That's a total rebuild, man. If you know what he inherited there, year 1 total rebuild, year 2 still in the process of it. So we're in year 3 for Hugh Freeze. I think they've got to make serious noise this year. That doesn't always mean you've got to, win a certain number of games or, be in a certain thing like the playoff. I do have to look at you and be able to unequivocally say, come December, this team was much improved. This team's on the right track. That probably means you're a playoff contender, but I got to be able to say that. So year 3, if it's a rebuild, year 2, if it's not a rebuild, you need to be doing stuff only because of how much more access you have to talent acquisition, how much more quickly you can turn a roster over today if you need to.
Josh, last thing for you. How concerned should Florida be? And I know their fans are concerned with DJ Lagway. He's getting reps in at practice. Billy Napier's talked about it, but he hasn't been a full go. It's April 8th, right? We got a long way before the season. But considering maybe his size, the injury is his shoulder, and I think his lower body is the way they phrased it. How much concern should there be right now in April?
I'd have a lot of concern. That's not speaking with knowledge of the situation. I don't know anything more about his injury situation than the public knows. But without DJ Lagway, I fundamentally have to re-alter my expectation for that team this year. Everything they accomplished down the stretch last year that's given birth to this optimism was largely because of him. They got a great wide receiver room that the potential of which will not be tapped into unless he's healthy. So it's obvious something's wrong. I now have to decipher as a fan, given no medical information, whether that something's big enough to impact him in the fall. And until someone says all clear, I've seen it happen too much before in this sport. I've had my heart broken too many times. I'm going to err on the side of nervousness instead of the side of ease of mind, because that is you only get one season per year, man. Like, it takes a long time to get to the next one. I want to see him throwing footballs.
Josh, I appreciate you, buddy. Talk to you next week.
Appreciate it, David.
Later, man. Josh Pate there on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. Brian Kortan will be in studio. We'll talk a little Aggie men's golf. They had a fun week. We'll talk right now about the Association of Former Students. If you are looking for a reason to come back to Aggie Land, if you need a job potentially, you should look at the Association of Former Students. They do have openings from time to time in several different departments. I recommend you go there right now. Fundraising, communications, marketing, so many different layers to what they do, sales side. They could be a really great destination if you're trying to move to Aggieland, and it's a great company to work for. They're the premier alumni association, and they've been taking care of Aggie since over 140 years. Don't miss out opportunities to help out with Aggie socials, Aggie Rain Day, class reunions, Aggie muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies these Aggie core values that, by the way, Bucky McMillan spoke about yesterday: excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining the team or sharing with someone who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. And we're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Brian Kortan here with us, Aggie men's golf coach. One thing that we always talk about everything and golf. Like when you're, like at least in the breaks, are like basketball, football. So you get to check out a little bit of Bucky's presser yesterday?
I did. I checked it out. I've always been a huge basketball fan. I love good basketball. So, wish Buzz well and those guys. They were awesome. And looking forward to seeing what Bucky can do for Aggie basketball.
How are you feeling about things golf-wise right now?
Feeling good. We've continued to make progress through the year. Again, I mean, we're busy right now. I mean, like we just had our Aggie Golf Day last week, which was, our interaction with our donors. About a lot of really good stuff. It's on Instagram if you want to see it all.
Yeah.
But no, we have a good group of guys. So Friday was awesome. Last Friday, gave out some awards. Thanked our people that really help our program go. And now we move into this week, which is prep for the Aggie, which the Aggie Invitational is 36 holes on Saturday, 18 on Sunday. Free for anybody who wants to watch some great golf. Come on out and watch. And things are trending for us. I mean, we've been doing things a lot better. We continue to get better, which I think is a big part of what we try to do. Is we try to get better so at the end of the year we're playing our best golf. And I don't think we're there yet. We still have some room to go, but I like the progress we've made.
I want to go back to what happened at Valspar in a moment. But before that, every sport that I talk about for this school, right, when we talk about the conference, it's like you got 13 teams going to the NCAA tournament. You got this amount of teams going here. Men's golf, no different. You got, 11 teams in the top 25 from the SEC?
Yeah, I don't even count anymore.
Yeah.
Because I just try to keep my head down and do us. But the depth in our conference in not just, our sport, but every sport is phenomenal. So it speaks to the universities, the programs, the investment in our rosters and our players. And it's really cool to see. It's what you sign up for. You sign up to compete against the best, and the SEC clearly provides that.
Which is why I bring up Valspar too, because you guys outplayed not just SEC teams, you outplayed some really good programs.
Yeah, you go play a great event like that, and you really two of our last three, we've played Southern Highlands, which is in Vegas, which is another elite event in the spring, and then you go to Valspar. Those two fields, you can't hide from those fields. So for our guys to kind of really do a really good job, again, we're not quite where we need to be. We need, we're kind of looking for one more score, and that because it's a fine line. We were a handful of shots from second place at the Valspar, in a field that was, 12 deep in top 25 teams or something like that. That speaks a lot to how close we're getting to playing the kind of golf that I think we can play.
I know it's not a good thing because you're not there yet, but it timing wise, is it okay where we are?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with where we're at. Yeah, I mean, we always want to be great, right? We always want to be great. And we knew going in, this was going to be a little bit of a build. And the guys have embraced it. We've got some experience at the top, and then we've got some young guys. And they've melted together pretty well and really play hard for each other. So.
And P, I think he had a bogey-free final round. Just how's he kind of trending?
He's settled in pretty well. I mean, he's settled in. He's, golfers, we kind of sometimes go on these tangents we don't need to go on. But when he keeps the main thing, which he's doing really well right now, and just does what he's capable of at a high level, he's really, really good at this. I mean, his last two seasons hasn't won a ton, like maybe there has been, like Sammy won a bunch and Chandler, maybe won a few more times, but his high level golf over that two-year span has been, he's been one of the top, Aggies.
And Aaron playing at a very high level as well.
Yeah, Aaron's had some really good rounds for us. He's probably the guy that, in terms of if he was here talking to you, he'd be like, yeah, I feel, he would feel like he's had two really good rounds each event. And he's had one round that got away from him just a hair. But just to put those rounds together and keep improving the way he has, really proud of him for sticking to it, sticking to his plan, and taking coaching. He's taken some bumps and some lumps along the way, but taking them like a champ. So,
how do you take in Masters Week when you're not there? Because I know you've been there a couple times.
I take in it a lot different now.
Yeah.
I can watch it and go, I know where he's going to try to hit this shot. I mean, I know.
You know the course.
I kind of know everything that's going on now. And it brings back good memories with walking around there with Sammy. But yeah, I don't know if I ever need to go back. I mean, I'd love to go back with the player again.
Sure.
But I had the best seat in the house for 4 days.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're in the gallery, it's cool, but like you've been right there in the thick of it.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome to do that and to have that opportunity to and be fortunate enough to do that with Sam. That was obviously a memory I'll never forget. But I don't know if I could ever look at the Masters the same again. So I have this new perspective and I'm sure he does too.
Yeah,
where we just kind of watch it and remember some of the stuff that went on and how cool that was.
We're getting close to the SEC tournament as well. Kind of explain to the audience a little bit of the coaching, the thinking, because you got stroke play, you got match play. It's a little different world.
Well, first of all, you mentioned it early. It's 16 teams that you break it down to 8 before match play, so you play 54 holes of stroke play to get to 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be brutal. I mean, you're going to have to put your best foot forward every day. And then you get to match play, and then match play is a different animal where you got 8 teams in match play, so you play 2 matches that first day and with the hopes of getting to the final on Sunday. But first things first, you got to play some good stroke play to get there. I like who we are in terms of if we get to match play situation. And the guys just get really excited for it. They love going to Sea Island. So it's an incredible competition. They do a fantastic job. And our conference is just so stacked with talent and coaches that have been invested in college golf for a long time. So it'll be a true test.
I asked you how you take in the Masters. What about the Aggie? Like it's your showcase. It's your time to have fun and also, just kind of take me through you for that experience.
It's our home game, so we get to control some of the things, like the golf course and how we set that up. And Traditions has been a good partner, and they went through the big renovation in the last year, and it's really good. They've done a really good job, and so thankful that that's gone on. So, it's our home deal. We get one home deal a year. This year, Oklahoma's coming, so we'll play with Oklahoma, and they're one of the best teams in the country. And Baylor right down the road, who's always really solid, really stout as far as the program goes, and a lot of other good programs that come in to play the Aggies. So it'll be fun to go toe to toe with some of those guys on your home venue. But as a coach, I kind of waffle in between: do I go out there and actually coach them, or let them play a golf course they've played 1,000 times?
Right.
It's kind of always a give and take.
Is it a case by case too, or
a little bit? I'm really just there, I think, in a lot of terms, and so as fast as for support.
Yeah.
We'll be on par 3s or par 5s, and just there to kind of have a conversation with while they're waiting or whatever. But you have to trust your guys. I mean, and we trust our guys, but we'll be there just to coach a little bit and support a lot.
Yeah.
And is that kind of how we approach the Aggie?
Well, and that's the point, right? Like you trust them, but you also want them to know that they can come to you and you can go to them and it'll make them better.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, in terms of the coaching aspect of it, and our guys are really good with taking coaching. We haven't, in the recruiting process, it's a big deal for us because we enjoy that part of it. We're not ever going to be a program that just rolls it out and says, go play. We want to help. We want to help them get to where we think they can go or where they want to try to go. So the coaching deal is a big piece for us. So sometimes we maybe do too much, maybe sometimes not enough, but regardless, our heart's in the right place. We're doing everything we can to get them going.
Big picture, what are some things you want to see over the next couple of weeks?
Good grades.
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
Yes, please. It's just the continued, we talked about being, kind of being predators, eyes forward, really kind of hunt what's next.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, I want those guys to really be focused on what's next, which is the Aggie, and not get ahead of ourselves. So really focused on that, hyper focused on being that kind of competitor. And then I also look forward to, I'd be remiss if I didn't speak about a couple of the other guys. And like Michael Heidebaugh's been fantastic, had some great last rounds for us. Both Valspar and Southern Highlands, absolutely. Great rounds. Wheaton Ennis, who's been just, if you look at our scores, you're going to look at him and go, well, what's gone on with him? He's just been unbelievably steady for a young kid. Really has a high ceiling. Looking forward to having him around for, a long time. So really been lucky with those guys and how they've developed and really embraced letting PBP and doing their thing to become, the best part of this team they can be.
Predators. I think that's a shirt idea. All right.
Yeah.
For next year. I like that. Thank you. Appreciate you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back. Logan Lee, talk a little Aggie basketball with the newest hire, Bucky McMillan. We'll have Bucky in studio at 10 o'clock. Right now, your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff and a personal touch is Aggieland Express Car Wash. 2 great locations. You got the original, William D. Fitch, the newest location, 2528 South Texas Avenue, across from the Planet Fitness. Both offer all the wash options you want, but the newest location offers the full service wash. They have 4 different levels of service there. You can ask them about all the memberships that they have. And I'm going to give one away at the Aggieland Express location on Texas Avenue. The first caller, 979-693-1150. You'll get yourself a free car wash from that location, a $40 value, 979-693-1150. And we're back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Our good friend Logan Lee is in studio. Saw you yesterday at the cool event for Bucky. Maroon goggles, maroon Kool-Aid. All right, here you go. I'm more fired up after yesterday.
Oh yeah, why?
I just liked them. You know, like I liked his energy. I liked the way he framed things. I thought he was very honest about the challenges that are ahead this year. Look, I don't know if it's going to work, but like, he was very likable. Like everything about him so far, and liking and winning a press conference does not mean winning next season, right? But I thought it was a great start for somebody that most people didn't know a lot about here.
I mean, at this point, I don't think winning any press conferences is going to do anybody any favors right now, especially with the way that the hiring process has gone with all sports at Texas A&M. It's about winning games on the field, on the court, whatever you're playing. But what I loved about it is we talked about when a coach comes in here, what do they need? They need energy. They need enthusiasm and passion for what they're doing. They need to empower the fan base. They need to connect with the fan base. They need to go out and get the students to come in. They need to go out and get the season ticket holders to buy in, the people that can donate to NIL. They need to do all those outside things.
I felt like he was talking to them yesterday when he was talking to us, right?
He literally looked at everybody and said, "You all are my friends. Come say hi to me when you see me.
Call me Bucky.
Call me Bucky." Like, just that's what this program needs. Somebody who's going to let everybody in, not somebody who's going to be closed off. Buzz did a great job with what he did. He won games, got to the tournament, had phenomenal seasons, not necessarily postseasons, but seasons.
It was fun. It was a good time.
But he was very closed off and kept his circle very tight.
Really tight.
That's not what Texas A&M needs. You can do that when you're a proven coach, and he's proven. He's done good things at Virginia Tech, at Marquette, so on and so forth. Bucky's coming in from Samford. Been there. That's the only head coach. That's the only college coaching spot that he's been at.
Yep.
He's going to need everybody's support and everybody's help. Not only because it just helps the atmosphere, it helps recruiting, so on and so forth. But when people come in, his style of play is also going to the fans are also going to help his style of play. When kids get down and they're guarding 94 feet and it's the end of the game and it's close and they're tired, you can't tell me that 12,000 fans yelling, cheering for you doesn't help. It does.
He's going to have quick rotations, right?
I don't know what he's going to do. Look at the roster.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to play out this first year.
What a disadvantage to be in, but he didn't shy away from it yesterday.
No, he didn't. He knows what he's going up against.
Yeah.
In this day and age, it is what it is because the transfer portal is ridiculous. As soon as a coach says, "I'm leaving," everybody's name goes in the portal. That's just how it is. It's a good move by the players.
I
don't fault them for it.
But I look at things through my sports lens, and I want them to pause for a moment.
Yeah, you want them to be loyal to the school that you love, but at the same time, it's different this year because Texas A&M, I mean, even if they had just 3 people enter the portal, that's 11 people gone because both had 8 seniors and grads. It was not a well-balanced team. And so he doesn't have that opportunity to say, hey, let's try to get 50% of those players back.
You're right.
Well, I mean, even if you try to get 50% of those players back, you have 2 guys on the roster. And so he understands that. I think everybody understands that. The administration understands that. I think the fan base understands that. But what he said was, doesn't matter. We're going to compete. We're going to go all out. We're going to work harder than everybody else.
Yeah.
And I've been through those days. Gillespie,
you know it.
Gillespie made sure we worked harder than everybody. And when you're in it, it's not the funnest thing. But we knew going into games, this was good. That game was going to be easier than practice because he's going to kill you in practice. And I have been told that he gets after it in practice. He gets after his teams, and they're going to be ready to go.
So, the staff that he's bringing in. How important was it that he got a guy who's been a head coach, was a head coach 12 minutes ago, right? A guy that's coached, both guys have coached at A&M, that know Texas, right? That have relationships in Texas. How important was that? And guys, he trusts Mitch Cole. I mean, he's been talking about how that's his guy forever, right? So how important was all that, especially with how little time they have to make things happen?
I mean, it's big. One, because he doesn't have to build every single relationship here with the administration and with the fans and the donors. Mm-hmm. They already have some ties. They already know the lay of the land. But I think it's the fact that Mitch could have been a head coach. He could have taken over the Sanford job.
Yep.
That could have been his job. But he's like, wait a second.
I go back to Aggieland?
I can go back to Aggieland. I can be in the SEC, and I can be with the coach that I've been with, that I trust, that I know is going places. Like, if Mitch had any doubt that Bucky was going to fail, he's taking that Sanford job, and he's being the head coach. But he has full faith in it. Kyle Keller, he was going to be a head coach next year. Maybe, obviously not at SFA, but he was going to be a head coach next year. And he said, you know what? Let's do this. I believe in this.
Yep.
And that says volumes about Bucky's ability and where the potential he may have. No matter who you hire, it's always a risky process.
Yep.
You don't know if they're going to fit. You don't know if they're going to mesh. You don't know how it's going to be. This is a risky hire, but I think the risk is outweighed by the reward and where it could be.
And also, we'll hit a break. You do one more segment?
Yeah.
I think regardless, it was going to be a hard season for Chris Beard and whoever, right?
Absolutely.
So regardless, it was going to be hard. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with more with Logan. Ground Shuttle offer frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George W. Bush Airport. Commuting comfort, luxury shuttles, reclining seats, and power outlets. You can enjoy the ride, catch up on work, emails, read a book while your shuttle takes care of the driving. They've got 9 shuttle times on the weekdays, right? They got one every hour and a half, and 5 shuttle times on the weekends every 2.5 hours. Great for business travelers and also the kids, right? When they're ready to get back home, you don't want them to park at Bush. Parking at Bush is terrible, by the way. Have them take you, right? The website is easy. It's groundshuttle.com, local company. They do it all for you. They service up to 14 passengers when they do their charter service. Groundshuttle.com is the website, groundshuttle.com. finishing up with Logan Lee here. We got about 4 minutes before Bucky McMillan's in studio. Or before the break before that. I'm really interested in the style making, they say styles make fights.
Yep.
I know he's got to get these athletes. He's got to get SEC caliber players, right? But I'm curious of that style that he's going to bring, the system. Mike Leach had a system that could compete regardless of the match. Like, I'm curious next season if he gets a nice roster, okay? How that can be a disruptor in the SEC. Again, this is all hypothetical, but that system, I'm curious how that can maybe disappoint some SEC teams.
Yeah, you go back to anytime you change, you talk about Mike Leach, spread offense, going wide, up tempo, changing it up. No one's really used to that. People are used to playing fast, but I'm interested to see how fast Bucky plays. Because everybody that I've talked to, coaches, players alike, have said he doesn't stop. Like, his teams just go. That's all it is. And a lot of coaches talk about that. And he mentioned in the press conference, every coach always comes into their job, hey, we're going to play up tempo, we're going to score, it's going to be exciting. And then it changes along the way.
Yeah.
It's like, he flat out said, we're not changing. We did this at my high school as an AAU coach at 17, as a JV coach, as a varsity coach, as a D1 coach. Everybody says, my style doesn't work until it does. We're staying with it. And I like that determination.
Everything I've heard about him, and I talked to former players, is that he is process-driven, not necessarily results-driven. We all are driven by the results, right? But if you can stay on the process, those results will come. And that's why he believes in his system. It doesn't matter who's in there, we're going to get there.
I just like how I talked to a number of people on their staff yesterday, and all of them are super excited to be here. But none of them hesitated to say, we're learning and we're going. But here's the thing. And it was always a but everybody's going to have to learn our style too.
Yep.
Like, they are welcoming to the change, but they are not wavering from their system. And I like that fact.
What is a fair patience? Okay, that's a weird question the way I phrased it. Fair patience, 2 years to make the tournament, 3 years to make the tournament. They don't even have a roster. So I know that it's a complete hypothetical, but in today's world, right? What's fair to try to get back to at least what we saw these last couple of years? NIT, deep run, NCAA tournament. Is fair 2 years, 3 years, 1 year? What's fair?
In today's day, you can change a roster in a year, in a season. I would say after year 2, going into year 3, you better feel really good about what's going on. Maybe year 3, if they're showing vast improvement and you can have the vision of what they are going towards, I think 3 years is good, especially considering the fact that they don't have a player right now. It's so late, and everybody has been picking apart the portal before they've even gotten involved with it. So
a phone call,
you just never know. One, what players are left, but I think 3 years. 3 years is a good spot to check them.
All right, we got to hit a break here. Logan, thank you for coming in, buddy.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. Always great to see you. Logan Lee. We'll come back with Bucky McMillan and Billy Liucci, TexAgs Live. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio, kind of juggling some things. We're going to get Bucky here in studio at some point, but we're going to just kind of continue down that stretch because, look, it's okay to be intrigued and excited. Like there's this thought process of like, you don't want to go, I'm going to go all in right now. And here's the thing. Can he get the roster shaken? Like, don't do our show if it means it's going to stop you from getting a roster done, right? And I think they've already done a lot of work there. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We just had Logan on. We've been talking a lot about hoops. We've been talking a lot about baseball. What are the people saying today?
So on YouTube, we've got lots of people, just specifically Dan Allen. He's commenting on how he's excited for Coach Bucky, saying that he was a high school basketball coach for 40 years. And his theory has always been basketball equals free throws, plus layups, plus three-pointers, plus full court defense is kind of the basic but essential key. And he sees a lot of that in Bucky.
So it's interesting, like there's in shape, and then I think there's Bucky in shape, right? And what I mean by that is, like you could be super athletic and conditioned, but when you play at that high level for that long, it takes a special breed of conditioning to get you there. And then you do that, right, during a game when a team is not conditioned to facing that kind of adversity. I think it brings the absolute best, without a doubt. What else do you have there, Reed?
I just wanted to bring up a quote from the interview with Bucky yesterday that got me pretty fired up. He said, I was in Bryant-Denny Stadium when a guy who you may know by the name of Johnny Manziel rolled into town. They were fearless, and that's how we're going to play basketball.
I think that is something that Bucky spoke about yesterday. He was actually at Bryant-Denny Stadium for that game, if I remember the quote correctly. And yeah, fearless basketball, fearless sports is something that I think, especially in basketball, like when you look at the way Houston, and Billy's here with us, I thought Houston yesterday was the better team for 97% of the game. I'm not giving you any breaking news there, Billy. Their fearless approach. Conversely, I think Florida played a fearless approach as well, but they never seemed rattled by the deficit. They never seemed like, even when Houston dominated that first half, Florida was it was a 3-point game at the half, right? And I thought Houston dominated that first half. So both things I think can be true about a program. Good morning, Billy.
Good morning, David. We're pretty far apart.
Well, I think we'll have a guest at some point in the middle.
So I agree with you. I thought Florida, in that game last night, it surprised me. U of H, they had that little, it was, I think, 21-21, and they pushed it out to, I believe, 30-21. And it felt like it was in a danger zone for Florida. Because, a 9-point halftime deficit is not optimal, but you can manage that. But that's with 4 minutes left. Do they outscore you by 6 in those 4 minutes, and you put yourself in a real hole? As far as, but that end of half run by Florida was big. But then in the second half, I got to give Florida a ton of credit because they matched U of H's toughness. Clayton hung in there without a point in the first half. I thought the Florida bigs really surprised me. They were pushing Roberts out to damn near the 3-point line and not letting him get in the paint. They were just, the refs let them play really physical, which I would have thought would have favored the Cougars. But I thought Florida handled that really well. And I watched them play Alabama, and it was like what Bucky talks about. It was up and down and athleticism and pressing and dunks and alley-oops and pull-up transition threes. That's Florida's game. That's where they're having fun and doing it. They survived against Tech. And what I would say, that was some grinded out basketball, but especially against Houston. And they didn't, I wouldn't say they played Houston's game because they got out and kind of, ran a little bit of that secondary break to get some buckets. But they generally, that game favored U of H, the pace and tempo of it and the physicality, but it didn't, Florida was able to overcome. So I give them credit. It sucks for Houston. Sucks for Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah.
If you watch college basketball, you're real familiar with those players over the last few years. And last year, losing their best player against Duke when they could have maybe won it last year.
Yep.
So this 2-year run by this team, I think, is going to haunt those players and Kelvin Sampson and those fans for a long time. I mean, I really thought 100%. I was convinced that after he turned it over, Sharp was going to come down and bang a 3 to win the game. And when he got the ball, I was like, here it is. This is the best shooter on the court outside of Clayton. And he pulled up and came back down and dropped the ball. What a way to go out. That was
well, and they had their chances at the end, right? They had 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Neither team scored a bucket in the last 2 minutes. Neither team scored a field goal.
I was super impressed with Houston's defense in the paint. It was relentless. It was double teams. It was sometimes triple teams. It was crowded. And I felt like Florida just couldn't get anything going. And it goes back to that patience thing.
If I have to see the hand hobgoblin guy try to shoot ever again, like, I don't know what Florida. I guess he's a presence in there. He's so big, like defensively, or he's a depth guy. But that guy, when he gets the ball, it's like it's missing everything, or he's getting fouled and then he's missing everything. That liability, I was sitting there going, this is going to cost them. But no, pretty special. I mean, again, we're sitting here about to interview a coach whose path isn't that dissimilar to a guy like Golden. I talked about Alabama a minute ago, a guy like Nate Oates. So to watch him have that, how long has he been there?
3 years, I believe.
3 years and
a national championship.
National championship. Kelvin Sampson's been there. He's been there since 14, but I mean he's been high level coaching for
forever,
30 years. You don't have to, you don't have to be that experienced in it. You don't have to be that long at the Power 5 level. You can get in there and turn it around pretty quickly. You need the support, though.
Yep.
You need to be able to put together the roster that fits your style of play. Thought it was fascinating yesterday when they said not one 5-star on the in that game. Not one. I'm texting about the upcoming interview.
We'll hit a break before he gets here.
So, how long should I say? 15 to 20.
Yep. Not one 5-star.
We were getting Bucky's on the way in, so we've got an all-out ambush set up for him in the lobby. Bronny,
Logan.
He thinks I'm joking. He goes, "Well, this is my office." I go, "Some of y'all got to leave." I counted 9 people in the lobby. I walked in. I felt like I was Han Solo and them walking into the ambush with Lando. And what was that
like
world
when you
in
do
the cloud? Reed, has your dad made you watch Star Wars or like?
He doesn't have to make me watch
Your
it.
dad, I've known TJ. I'm not sure he's even watched it.
No, he's watched it.
Okay.
I remember I dressed up as Darth Vader like 3 times as a kid for Halloween.
There you go. So when Darth Vader's in the room
and waiting
and it's an ambush. That's the feeling. I now know how they felt because when I walked in, it's that, for those of you that haven't been in the lobby, it's that long walk and it's like,
whose fault
just
is
people everywhere. Olin's hovering, Luke sitting there with his laptop, just waiting for the ambush.
Hi, I'm a basketball guy.
Bronny sitting there going to tell
I'm the
him,
baseball guy.
How things were done at McNeese.
Yeah.
And how things should be done here.
It's my fault though, Billy.
What'd you do?
I put it on the rundown. Right? And by putting it on the rundown, it's open to the world. And then,
open season.
I have a meeting at TexAgs I didn't know about now. Wink, wink, and then they're here. That's my fault.
You probably have some, there's going to probably be some fans in there soon enough.
Well, yeah, I invited them. There's a whole room of them. All right, we'll hit a break because I think he's coming in soon. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with Bucky here in studio. If your car was hit by the recent hailstorm, do not trust an out-of-town pop-up tent with your car. Trust a locally owned and operated business, and I'm talking about one and only Classic Collision and Restoration, who specialize in paintless dent repair for your hail damage. Those out-of-town pop-up tents that are calling your phone, I know they're calling mine, they're going to be gone soon. And then who's going to stand the test of time, right? When you got to get, hey, man, this didn't work out, they're going to be gone. You're going to be calling, and they're not going to be, we're not going to be in the area for a while. You need to go somewhere and keep your business local that's going to be here and take care of you. They've done it for over 25 years. They want to bring your car back to showroom form. The top quality auto repair, and I'm telling you, it is quality service and detail the Classic Collision way. You're going to love it. You get what you pay for, and you get great service when you use Classic Collision. Don't just get your car fixed, get it restored with Classic Collision and Restoration. Aggie owned and operated, Doug Leopold, class of 1993. The number, 779-8399 or online at classiccollisionandrestoration.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy Liucci's with us. Bucky McMillan in studio. Thanks for coming in, man.
Glad to be here.
How, these last couple days and what's ahead, how overwhelming has it been? How do you prioritize everything, especially with shaking hands, media appearances, getting a roster together, coaching staff, all the things you've had to do. How overwhelming has it been?
It's been pretty tough. I mean, just getting out here, getting hired, flying out here, no sleep, meeting everybody, press conference, one thing to another. But it's been great. Like, I mean, it's really been great, and it's been such great support from the people out here. And, you know, but it's time to get to work today and find a roster. We got one player on that roster right now. So today it's going to be full steam ahead with recruiting, trying to piece together some players so we can be competitive next year.
Is that something that you were, I mean, obviously when you're thinking of making this move, and I talked to so many people, Bucky, in the last few days, like since, I guess probably around Friday. And you know, I joke because I called Cole Kubelik, and he was like, I don't know if you guys can get him out of Birmingham. Like, you know, and he meant it. You know, he said it. So when you're thinking about the magnitude of a move like that, and you look at that roster, does it make you wonder? Like, I mean, obviously you embrace the challenge. We're sitting here today. Where college basketball is at right now, it just feels like the timing of everything is a little wonky for things like, well, coaching changes.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly we're at a competitive disadvantage just on the timing. Nobody's fault. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it is what it is. But you know, I know that everyone that has been successful, you know, they have a short-term view, but they also see the long-term opportunity. And our long-term opportunity here is tremendous. So yeah, it's strange because just the nature of the transfer portal, the nature of this house settlement, that a lot of the players were trying to get in the portal before this case was settled so that they could make as much have as many NIL opportunities as possible.
Yeah.
So everyone's trying to get signed before April the 7th.
Exactly.
It was yesterday.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mentioned this to someone. This is kind of like, you know, taking a job in August with one player on the roster. It's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're going to make up ground here, and we're going to try to make up ground quickly. But when you ask about this opportunity, this was a no-brainer because, you know, we're going to fight as hard as we can to piece together this roster. But, you know, in a year, 2 years from now, there's no reason we can't be at the top of this league. And this is the best league in the country. And guess what? Next year, if we can piece together a roster, they can go in that league and fight. You know, all you got to do is get in that NCAA tournament. A lot of teams from this league are going in there. And by the end of next year, if you're in that NCAA tournament, you have your own path forward to try to make it a deep run.
I saw one this year out of Fayetteville that, if I remember right, was 0-5 in the league and probably a minute or a possession away from Elite Eight. So you obviously, and this is part of the conversations, is everyone was like, he's an SEC coach. It was just until the right job came along. Was that always something that you kind of thought, like, potentially for your future, looking around the league? And then being in Birmingham, I'm sure you've had a real close, you know, you've got your finger on the pulse of the conference right now. The style of play, when I was in Nashville last month and watching y'all's highlights, looking at the numbers, hearing you talk, seems like a really nice fit into today's SEC.
Yeah.
Is that something you see?
Well, I grew up in SEC country, obviously. I mean, we were talking football just a second ago. Like, I mean, I'm from Alabama. I mean, I watch all the games, you know, basketball, football, baseball, I watch it all. And the SEC was always the league to be in for football, but now it's also the league to be in for basketball. We obviously know what it is in baseball. We see where this is. And you saw last night, obviously, SEC team playing for a national championship. And, I mean, you saw how many were in the Final Four. You saw how many were advanced into the Sweet 16. And but stylistically, like, I think everybody's understanding that the game's meant to be played with as many possessions as possible and up-tempo. And in the SEC, I think fans like to rally around something that doesn't just win, but that's entertaining. And that's our job, to put a product on the floor that can do both. And that's what we're going to do here.
Yeah. I think that struck a real chord with Aggies yesterday, just in terms of that exciting basketball, but also it seems like you're meshing style and substance with the fearlessness and the way you guys are going to press. Would you is it fair to say it's an attacking style of basketball on both ends?
Yeah, you know, I mentioned this, I think, the other day. Can't remember if it was in the press conference or whatnot, but this will relate to the 12th man and Aggie Nation here. I was in Bryant-Denny Stadium, because I'm from Alabama, when Johnny Manziel rolled up in there
Yeah.
and gave it to Alabama, you know?
Yep.
And it wasn't that they just won that game, but it was that they came in there and they attacked.
Yep.
And they were on the road. It didn't matter.
20-0.
Bang. They were fearless. And that stuck with me.
Really?
Like, I'm telling you, like, when I look back at games and I think of A&M, that game, like, stuck with me.
Yeah.
And, you know, so think about what that means to a university. Like, when people in Alabama, after that game, they thought of A&M, they thought of a fearless university, you know, with gunslingers, you know? And so my point being, our basketball program in football terms will be that same style.
Yeah.
That win, lose, or draw, you know, we're going to go at teams. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to play extremely hard. And we're going to play with a lot of confidence. And, I mean, I've coached games in the past with our teams where, hey, we might have even lost, and someone came up to me 3 days later and said, that was a great game.
Yeah.
So we didn't win. He said, oh, I thought we won. Because they were so proud of how hard the guys competed and how they attacked. And that's going to be what we do right here.
When did that begin with you? And I know you credited people along the way yesterday. Was that you as a young player, or was that did that happen somewhere along the way with someone you played for or worked for?
Good question. So when I grew up playing basketball, when I was in high school, they thought that you kind of had to play slow down basketball, play in the 30s.
Yeah.
And I played for a great coach who liked to play slower. He's a great coach. But I said, man, if I ever coach, we're going to let it rip. You know, we're going to get up and down. We're going to find the most fun way to win.
Yeah.
And so when I started coaching, I was young, 17, 18, started coaching AU and then JV and varsity. That's what we did. Yeah. And we were really trying to push the envelope with it. Went to college, played for a great guy who played up tempo. And the rest is history. Like, right? I mean, like, life's short. Like, life's short. And I just don't want to live that way in fear. Like, we're going to go, we're going to attack. And, you know, I think it's the best way to win.
I want Nuño to ask, because I know he's going to have some good questions, but one thing that just popped into my head, Brad, you can probably, he's over here, Brad Marquardt, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I had a roommate 20 years ago, however long ago, it was 2000, 25 years ago, and a tiny little team, Birmingham Southern, came into Reed Arena, beat A&M by I think 25. That was prior to you getting there, right? Right before?
But it was the same coach. Same coach.
So, and it was, I mean, can we say that was like Bucky ball? Like, I remember dunk after dunk and windmill.
Yeah, that was a guy by the name of Dwayne Reball coached that team. So Coach Reball coached me in college. Okay. That was before I got there. Coach Reball was on my staff last year. So it's like a father figure to me. Okay. Known the man forever. Coach Cole, who's with us now, was on that same staff.
He was. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So think about how this runs full circle here. So now you got Coach Reball was doing that at Birmingham Southern. I went and played for them. Mitch was the assistant. Last year at Sanford, I was the head coach. Mitch was the assistant, and Dwayne Reball was the assistant. And now we got Mitch back out here. Coach Reball is older. I was texting with him this morning. Say, hey, man.
You were a little younger.
I said, hey, man. Lots of good spots out here if you want to come make a run, you know. So he hasn't responded back yet, so I think he's thinking right now. But anyway, same system, same people.
And along those lines, Warren was telling me one of the most memorable moments in Aggie basketball history had a little glimpse of what we're about to see in terms of against Northern Iowa and Mitch Cole and that press that caused them so many problems in that final minute.
Yeah, that was remarkable. You remember that?
Right.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I mean, that was well, we're just going to play that the whole game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just what we do. And, I mean, there's certain things like, you know, some games we always going to pick up. Some games we trap. Some games we don't trap as much. You got to, you know, kind of read who you're playing and how they like to play and be able to turn the gas on and off, right? But we're going to play attacking basketball on both ends, but we're going to play with discipline. Right, that's the difference. Like, you know, when you watch Hurry Up, No Huddle come into the SEC, it kind of took everyone off guard. Everyone said, no, you got to run the power I, and it's got to be, you know, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You can't do this. And then all of a sudden they brought it into the league and everyone was spinning in circles. But there was a lot of discipline to it.
Right.
Speed, but discipline. That's what we're going to do.
Bucky, I want to talk about I'm a nerd, okay? So you'll learn that about me.
I'm a nerd too.
Okay, well, good. We're going to get along great. the conditioning behind what you do, because a lot of times people will play relentless, but then maybe back off a little bit defensively, or they'll play defensively really hard, but they'll slow it down. How do you the brand of conditioning to get you ready for that, for a 40-minute game, to where your players are relentless all game long? What goes into building that before the season?
It's a good question. With the rules now that you can play, it's not like it used to be where you couldn't start practice till like October 15th. Now you have a certain amount of hours per week when you play pickup, and you can have the team for a lot amount of hours. So you get to be with them earlier. But we play how we play all the time. Like if we play pickup, we play how we play. And so they get used to playing the way that we're going to play. And so our conditioning, it's difficult, that's for sure. That's more for mental more than anything. You know how that is. Like you kind of got to go through things in basketball and sports, just like life. They're challenging. You don't think you can do it, and you do it. Now you know the next time you're in that spot, you can get through adversity. But in terms of getting our guys in basketball shape, we've never had to condition once the season starts. We never do it because our practice is that. If there was anything different with our practice than most, I would say, it's just everything's competition, right? And we're going to play the exact way we play in everything that we do.
One of the things that caught my attention yesterday was that you've done everything, right? You've from the popcorn, and Billy started this company in the back of this truck, right? Like the back seat. A newsletter, and look at this, right? You've done that every step, right? So to me, the greats, you have to have an understanding for all parts of the program. How has that kind of molded the way you coach?
Well, I would just say, like I would say this to the people out here that I will get to know. I think that sometimes coaches feel like they cured cancer or something. Like, meaning, like, we're just regular guys. And I mean, 6 years ago, I was the bus driver, right? So I'm so appreciative to be here. I'm never going to change in thinking I'm more important than you are. And so we're going to have a great relationship with everyone out here because you have just as much ownership in this and have been here longer than me, and you do too. And you got people that are part of the 12th man that are 90 years old and have lived every second of this. So we just need to rally together. And I want everyone to, I'm glad that I get to be a part of y'all's program, not the other way around. I'm just glad that I get to be a part of what y'all got going on out here. And with everybody, we're going to have so much fun. And this is the start of this program. And sure, we started a program with one player. But it's more fun when we start here and then where we're going, when we look back here with all the people that started with us and stuck with it.
Right.
And when we're winning championships, we're going to remember these moments like this, how it all started. And it's going to be that much more rewarding.
Oh, yeah. Bucky, I appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much. I know it's crazy busy for you, but you made a few minutes for us. We thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all.
it.
Yeah, appreciate y'all.
Yeah,
Bucky McMillan.
We'll get Johnny and Mike Evans in there. You can let them have a little dunk contest. I know when they come in town, they're going to be reaching out to you guys and asking for the code to get in there for sure.
Well, tell them that we got plenty of scholarships. I'll give each one of them 2 scholarships.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank y'all.
Appreciate you.
We'll hit a break. We'll come back with JB Miles talking about Aggie baseball. That and more is TexAgs Live. Bro, those viewership numbers are going up. Maybe because JB Moss is on the Puppies Catering hotline. Maybe. JB, good morning, sir.
David, how we doing, man?
We're good, man. What a hour. We got Liucci, we got Coach Bucky in the studio, and we get you on the phone. What's up, man?
Yeah, let me tell you, one of those three doesn't belong. I'll leave it to you to decide who that is.
Yeah. Well, Billy's never coached or played at the highest ranks like you have. So, well, we can at least say that. Hey, let's talk about what has happened Aggie baseball wise, really since Caden Sorrell got reinserted into the lineup, but just overall what we saw this past weekend against Tennessee to bounce back from a no-hit game to winning a series, 2 in that one day on Saturday, to just what it does to the energy, to the belief, to the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's tremendous. I think it completely has the potential to flip the season on its head. I mean, look, not only do you get run ruled on Friday night at number 1 Tennessee, you get no hit. And given where this team was, you know, their backs are against the wall. And to me, I put myself in the player's shoes. That had to be completely demoralizing, which, to your point, made Saturday even more impressive. I mean, you play 18 innings at a packed house against number 1, and really you just dominate them. And it was super impressive. And my hope is starting tonight, we see them carry that confidence and that same energy that they had in Knoxville throughout the rest of the season.
Well, let's talk about Sorrell, who I mentioned earlier. I mean, he's always been an impressive player, and you know the what ifs are there. If he would have started the season, if Gavin, but regardless, they got him now, and he's not even 100% yet. But here he is, just not just contributing; he's leading the way.
Yeah, I told you the last time I was in studio, I have talked to people in the professional ranks, and you've heard this before. They truly believe that Caden Sorrell is the best prospect potentially on the team. And that is the ultimate compliment considering what Jace Laviolette has done in his career and where he is currently positioned in all the preseason and in-season draft rankings. Caden has been phenomenal. I mean, he's hitting .330. He already has 4 home runs and only 24 at-bats. I mean, his production has been awesome, Nuño, but what it has allowed is another left-handed bat in that lineup, and it's been able to extend the lineup, which has been huge. Because I think you can see it as everyone else can, that without Caden, the lineup does look 1 or 2 bats short. So just his ability to extend the lineup, another left-handed hitter with power, potential, and production has done wonders for the team.
Talking to JB Moss here on TexAgs Live. Let's talk about starting pitching. Prager struggled a bit, and he struggled his last couple outings, but I'm not worried about Ryan Prager. He's going to be fine. Lampkin and Patton were so good, though, this past weekend.
Yeah, they sure were. And look, you look at their stat line, and I can't tell you how impressive it is. I mean, you're talking about at number 1 Tennessee. Their offensive numbers are otherworldly. And the crowd and the environment and your backs are against the wall. I mean, all the above, right? And both pitchers go 6 innings into the ball game, which is a lot longer than the conference average. And they only give up 1 free base, David. That, to me, was the key statistic. Each only had 1 walk. That means they were filling up the zone. Not a lot of damage was done, so when Tennessee did make contact, it was a lot of soft contact that the A&M defenders could handle. So you really just can't say enough about both those guys. To be able to have 2 quality starts on the same day is very unlikely, and hat tip to those guys because A&M needed it in the worst way.
How about Bear Harrison? I mean, the power numbers here, 7 homers, 12 games, and he's just developing. He's dynamic, and I don't know, man, like, I knew he was going to be pretty good, but I heard what Zane and Bronny were telling me that, hey, man, he looks, but he has blown that out of the water.
Yeah, he's been great, especially offensively. The last time I was in the studio with you and Bronny and the crew, I told you that college teams and especially professional teams, they build their rosters up the middle, especially defensively. It's critically important to build your roster at catcher, shortstop, and center field. And you watch the best teams, they're really strong at those 3 positions, and then you kind of supplement around those 3. And keep in mind, not only what Bear has done offensively, he caught all 18 innings on Saturday, which is very taxing on the body, shows a lot of toughness, and for him to be able to produce as much as he has offensively has really, along with Sorrell, just done wonders for this offensive lineup. They needed it in the worst way, and thank God for him because, again, he has exhibited power. His average is floating, close to 400 now. he's just done wonders, and A&M is very lucky to have him.
You know, you get a series like that, and you still look at this, it feels insurmountable, right? Like, it gives you hope, but then you're like, man, but they got to take on, you know, Arkansas, who's number one. You got Texas coming up. You still got you got all these. Like, how does a player not get lost in what's ahead, considering, you know, you got Sam tonight, and you can't get any more blemishes, right? So how do you not look at the whole journey and just kind of wait and take each challenge as it comes?
I mean, it's the old adage, and I've heard it said on the show by multiple people, and it sounds cliche, but how do you eat an elephant, right? I mean, it's one bite at a time, and especially, David, there is no room for error. But I would encourage the staff, and I would encourage the kids to look at this as an opportunity instead of a gauntlet. I mean, the positive, you have to flip it on its head, and you have to look at the positives. The positives are, you can take last weekend, for example, and see what it did to A&M's RPI, and understand how many more opportunities just like that one that you have. And so you have to look at it as a positive, as an opportunity. We get to do this. And the greatest thing about the SEC is that you don't have to wait very long to prove yourself. You're playing against premium competition every single day, and it only takes one series. It takes one series at Tennessee, and then you just kind of roll with it, and you take it one day at a time because you have to, and because you have no room for error, and every game is game 3 of the championship series in Omaha. And it sounds cliche, but you have to take it that way. And if you're able to do that, you give yourselves a chance. If you don't, and you get overwhelmed, the season's going to be over, unfortunately.
Yeah, JB. Coach Early told us that April is going to define this team. It happens to a lot of teams, right? But because there's so much ground to make, it becomes even that more important.
No, for sure. And listen, I told Bronny and Richard this. I really didn't care that the team was losing games in February. I know that's not a popular thing to say. I cared how they were losing games. And the reason I say that is because of exactly what we just discussed. There's so much opportunity in this league. And I have a feeling that's why Coach Early told you that, is because look at the opportunity A&M has in the month of April. Again, best part of playing in this league. You get test after test, weekend after weekend. But the good news is if you perform and you beat those teams, your rankings, your RPI, whatever metric you want to look at, they're going to skyrocket because every team in this league has so much respect.
When you look at what's ahead, like, do you see opportunities? Like, all right, I know Arkansas is number 1, but this. Texas is 2, but that. LSU is this. Georgia is that. Like, can you look at things, at the way things are trending, I should say, not just Tennessee, just overall the last couple of weeks, and be like, I think as well as A&M has played and maybe missed a play here or there, but this is what makes them good against Arkansas. This is what could make them good against Georgia.
Yeah, I do, David. At times I can be very optimistic about it. I mean, how can you not? Look, you go to number 1 Tennessee and you're playing on the road. It will not get any harder than that. So that should give fans, that should give the players and the staff the utmost confidence, knowing, hey, if we play our best, we can beat the best, right? There's no question. Everyone believed that about this A&M team all year long, and they proved it. So they should be flying with the utmost confidence right now. I will say, David, I think they need to get Ryan Prager back going, and they need a little more help in the bullpen. I'm pretty confident with what I see offensively. I think these guys are starting to swing it and walk to the plate with a different demeanor, a different swagger about them. So I think the key, look, I say it all the time, the key is going to be starting pitching and playing defense. Those two things travel. They play whether you're at Blue Bell Park or they play whether you're on the road. So as long as this team can continue to progress defensively and get some more help on the mound, I really do think they have a chance.
JB, how difficult is it in today's day? Because, I mean, you weren't that long ago, but it feels like the noise is a lot louder than ever with the evolution and the accessibility to social media and just the way society is now. How hard is it to not listen to what people have been saying and also recognize you can't really, go all in on what happened against Tennessee because you haven't done anything yet?
Yeah, I mean, as far as not listening to what people say, I'll just be real blunt with you. It's impossible. In this day and age, these kids with social media, and there's so much coverage on the program. But look, that's part of what you sign up for. And I've heard Coach Early talk about this. I mean, you guys want to play for a premier team in the country, you want to have fan support, you want NIL, you want everyone to tell you how good you are, then it's only fair for you to have to deal with the other side. And I think that's why you see these kids, when you talk to them, you hear them in interviews, they're so mature, so much more mature than kids 20 years ago, because they're just dealing with so many different obstacles at a young age, that past generations didn't have to deal with. So, I think these kids will be fine. And like I said, it's cliche, but you just have to keep your head down, turn your phone off, and really keep it one day at a time. Because like Rob Childress would tell us all the time, I love talking about Rob and everything he taught us on the show. And he would tell us, you're never as good as you think you are. You're never as bad as you think you are. You're always somewhere in the middle. And that was huge for us, whether my first 2 years at A&M, whether we were really struggling and nobody believed in us and nobody was saying nice things about us. We were probably better than people wanted to give us credit for. And then my junior and senior year, when we flirted with number one half the season, he was even more quick to remind us that we're not as good as everyone's telling us, and that kept our blinders on and kept us working hard, and good results followed. So, these guys will get it. I trust and believe in the staff and the kids, and they'll be fine.
JB, last thing for you. If you can tell us, did Friday feel like the season's over, and then Saturday the season's just started? Is that kind of how your emotions went?
Absolutely, 100%. I know those are drastic swings. Maybe that's part of me pouring my heart and soul into Aggie athletics for so long. But Friday felt like it was over, for sure. I felt like the team, they had their backs against the wall, and they got punked. I mean, they got punked for 7 innings, and it was pretty ugly. But on a positive note, that is what made Saturday so impressive. I mean, I counted them out. I did. And for them to come back and to play the way they did, right? It's like I was telling you earlier, I didn't care they were losing games in February. I cared how they were losing games and how they won the game, and their effort and their intent and their togetherness in all 3 phases on Saturday was the most impressive by far that I have seen them in the Michael Early era. And like I said, I hope we get to see that tonight and moving forward throughout the rest of the season.
JB Moss on the Buppies Catering Hotline. JB, thanks, man. Hopefully we have a lot more good stuff to talk about.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. You have a great day.
See you, man. JB Moss breaking it down here on the program. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Luke Evangelist, Aggies in the pros. He's got some of that. I'm sure I'll ask him about some Aggie hoops things. Let's talk about storytellers. Chance McClain is the best storyteller I know. He is fantastic what he does. He does these documentary films about families. He's done Broadway musicals, red carpet shows, started a radio station. He now loves capturing family stories. He's been doing it for about 5 years. A lot of times they have an Aggie twist. His team has got an incredible track record of telling meaningful family narratives. We all have them. Every person listening to this show right now has a story in their family that needs to be told. And he's not just using some handy cam. We're talking about a professional cinematic equipment that makes this filming event, like you forget they're even there, eye in the sky style. Whether you're on a tractor in a studio, he's going to capture the authentic heart of your story. The premium service that delivers an incredible, lasting memory. Want to preserve your family story? Check out yourheritagefilm.com at 713-893-8341. This is more than a business for Chance and his team. It's about a relationship built on trust and storytelling. It's Heritage Films. Certainly Luke is Luke and Matthew is Matthew. We'll get to those jokers here in a minute with the Aggies and the pros. Right now, Bird Dog, Aggie owner and operated company creating access to hunting opportunities. I want you to think of them as a Airbnb for hunting experiences. They're so fantastic. They'll set up all the logistics for you. Fantastic at what they do. But beyond the hunting experience, which is great, right? They can help out landowners. They can find landowners, get some hunters on your land. They can also make sure that you get the tax benefits of going there, right? Because a lot of times you don't know what money you can make on your land. Some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. They can be your personal consultant and help you maximize income on your land. The website is birddogit.com, birddogit.com. The Jokers, Luke, Matthew, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning, David.
So that was a kind of an awkward morning from both of you guys. I don't know why. It felt weird.
I feel like nothing could ever be awkward on a beautiful Tuesday morning at the TexAgs office.
I forgot. It's sunshine pumping Luke. All right, let's get into it. Both of you guys, Bucky presser yesterday, Bucky interview today. What'd you think?
It was a busy day. I mean, Luke was all over the place. I mean, I was mostly back here just watching the whole thing, and it was pretty enjoyable.
Yep. Let's get to this. Well, you didn't give me your opinion.
Well, I mean, I think Bucky's an unbelievable. He's winning the press conference. He's winning everything he's doing, and it's not like you can say that everything he's talked about doing, winning championships, changing the culture, he's done that at every other place he's gone, and there's no reason to believe he can't do it at A&M. And what people didn't see off camera was as soon as he finished his TexAgs Live appearance, he went back there and introduced himself to everyone that was working back there, and he means exactly what he says as far as really endearing himself to the community and rallying support.
All right, let's get into Aggies and the pros. What do you guys have for us?
Well, let's start with the most fun part of the weekend, which was Braden Montgomery and Jackson Appel both hitting their first professional home run. But the best part about it was Hayden Schott is back on Twitter, and he quote tweeted Jackson Appel's home run and said, "The king of just sneaking one over the wall at every level isn't going to play anymore at Jackson Appel." And if you missed the video of the home run, Jackson Appel, yes, he did sneak it just over the wall. As we know, that's what pretty much every home run that he hits happens. So very funny from Hayden Schott. And if you want some more Hayden Schott content, you know exactly where to find it. But let's move into some UFL stuff. Matthew, I know you love UFL football. What do you have?
Well, I mean, Leon O'Neal's team, the Houston Roughnecks, not necessarily off to a hot start. They're 0-2. You're also looking at the DC Defenders, Anthony Hines. They're looking pretty good so far at this point. I mean, they're only 2 games in, okay? But Jay Sternberger had 35 yards on 3 catches as the defending champs for the Birmingham Stallions. And they got in the win column after losing, and they were down, or now they're 1-1 now for them. Obviously, back-to-back UFL champions for those guys. So we'll see how Jay Sternberg's going to go on for them. And then Kellen Mond and the Brahmas lost again. They dropped to 0-2, and he had just 129 passing yards and 19 rushing yards with an interception. So we'll see how our Aggies in the UFL are going to hold on for the rest of the season.
Yeah, the Aggies in the G League/NBA are really the highlights this week. Quentin Jackson, as we all know, has that 2-way contract with the Pacers and the Mad Ants. He was back just a couple weeks ago playing for the Mad Ants in the G League playoffs. He went for 33 and 34 points as they made it all the way to the conference semifinals. But Dexter Dennis in the Stockton Kings actually made it to the championship game. That series takes place tonight. Game 1 is tonight. They are playing against the Magic's G League affiliate. Dexter Dennis has been averaging 13.8 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2.5 assists per game this season. Game 2 will be on Monday, and then if necessary, Game 2 Friday, Game 3 if necessary on Monday. But that's what to look out for. Dexter Dennis playing in the G League Finals, and he's been an unbelievable piece for the Stockton Kings so far this year.
Guys, I'm going to read this text that came in because I'm not that kind of guy. I'm going to be honest. Reed, do you agree with me? I feel like for the last 48 hours, people have been really nice on text.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Like, people have been in a good mood, and I recognize that. I'm not saying that this gentleman's not in a good mood, but Bill, class of 1979, men's basketball hire, bad hire. Men's baseball, bad hire. Women's basketball, bad hire. When will the athletic director, Trev Alberts, be held accountable? Well, he did not hire Joni Taylor, right? And Joni Taylor did have a lot of injuries. He did hire Michael Early, and I think the entire world would have hired Michael Early under that situation. Mm-hmm. And I believe in starting off with optimism, because exactly what you guys said. Bucky has won the presser. Bucky's won the energy. And I'm going to give this guy my support because I like him. And when I like him, as long as he can build a roster, I think we'll be all right.
I don't even remember this dude's name, but
Bill 79.
Okay,
I'm sure he's a
I just
nice
want to
guy.
know how much college basketball Bill has watched and what he knows about what Bucky McMillan has done, coming up all the way from a JV coach at a program that had never won anything before to winning 5 state championships, and then at Samford that had 5 winning seasons in 2 decades to winning 3 conference titles. I just don't know how you could say that's a bad hire.
I like optimism. When we can be optimistic. Things aren't bad right now. Things are pretty good. Thank you, gentlemen. I really like that segment. We'll see you mañana. I can't tell you who's on the show, though.